We won the championship! What's up, Kings fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Royal Rebounds podcast with Calvin and Barry. Today we are celebrating a championship. Oh man, Calvin, how does it feel?
To the victor goes the spoils, right?
Right? That's some good stuff. We're here. We're not drinking beer today.
Only champagne today.
Only champagne.
Only the finest.
The breakfast of champions. All right, so as many of you know already, the Kings won the Summer League Championship today. This is their second time winning the award since they won back in 2014. And they're actually the only NBA team in history to have 2 Summer League championships.
Wow, I did not know that.
I know they haven't been doing it for a long time. I think they started in like 2012 or something like that. But hey, we got something, right?
2 ships.
2 ships, yes. So Calvin and I are just going to talk a little bit about the exciting things we saw during the Summer League, some new announcements for the Kings coaching staff, and then we're also just going to show our excitement for this upcoming season.
Tonight. We're partying.
We're having a great time. Real quick, guys, please make sure you subscribe to the channel below. If you are a Kings fan, make sure you like this video. Calvin and I are diehard Kings fans. We put out a ton of Kings content, and we have fun while we're doing it. We're celebrating another championship today here. We're drinking some BJ's Secret Stuff here. Let us know down below in the comments what you guys are drinking while you're celebrating as well. All right, Calvin, so you want to give some recap on this championship game?
So the Kings, they came out and they performed exactly how they've been playing this entire Summer League. They, from start to finish, I think they were the most complete team. I was talking on Instagram to one of our good buddies, Mr. Tanvir Atwall. Shout out Tanvir, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Kings fan I know personally. But we were talking, and I told him, I think the Kings, this was maybe 2 or 3 games into Summer League, and I said, I think the Kings have the best starting lineup in the entire Summer League. They're one of the deepest teams also. And they look to be the best defensive team. They could easily win this thing. That's exactly what they did today. Offensively, they played very well. A couple guys really, really showed out. Louis King, who was named MVP of the Summer League, had a fantastic game. Jamias Ramsey also played really well. Matt Coleman was huge off the bench. 6 for 6 from the field, 2 of 2 from 3. Really, really played big. But defense is what won them this game. Defense is what won them the entire Summer League. They killed it as a unit defensively, nonstop. They forced 29 turnovers in this game.
Wow.
Boston came in as the most efficient offensive team in the Summer League. They were putting up huge numbers. They were number 1 in point differential. The Kings shut them down completely. 18 steals. 18 steals in this game for Sacramento. They started it with defense. They finished it with defense, which was really refreshing to see as a Kings fan. The intensity, the energy level, they were on a high defensive energy level the entire Summer League from start to finish. It was really, really fun to watch.
And capped off by a 33-point win today.
Yeah. And they started this game down 10. From the beginning, down 12-2. It did not look good, but defense brought them back.
Yep. And Boston, has a bunch of those guys we had talked about drafting, right?
Right.
Like Aaron Nesmith and some of those guys, Pritchard.
And let's not forget, a lot of the guys that were playing on this Boston team, they played, not just played on the big squad the last couple of years, but they played big minutes, these guys. Carson Edwards has been on the team for a couple years. He's played a lot in the NBA. Peyton Pritchard played really well for them last year. So this was a great test for the Kings' young guys to go up against people who are used to, on a nightly basis, playing in the NBA. And they passed with flying colors.
Yeah, and I think some of those guys even got some playoff time this last season.
Absolutely.
So I know that's big. Big shout out to Louis King. That's amazing. You've been playing great. You first caught my eye the end of the season, second to last game, 27 points against Memphis. That was a huge game. It's so cool to see King on the front and the back of the jersey. So Happy about that. But as you said, defense and Davion Mitchell. You know, you have a guy that's 22 years old. He's won a championship in high school. He just got off a championship in college. Now he's got a summer league championship. What's next?
Not just that, AAU championship before the high school state championship. He won an SEC championship at Auburn before he transferred to Baylor, wins the national championship at Baylor, now wins the summer league championship. I think we can only assume that an NBA championship is going to follow.
I think this is the dog we've been looking for. Really happy about that. I know they've been talking a lot about 3-guard lineups now with potentially Fox, Haliburton, and Mitchell all playing together. What does that mean for Buddy Hield?
That's the $24 million question right now. What does that mean for Buddy Hield? We've talked about it, for the past few weeks on this podcast. I still think they should look to trade him. It's not the end of the world or the worst case scenario if he starts the season on this roster. But I just think that given what Buddy has shown in the past in terms of a mental approach, obviously he thinks he's one of the best players on this team. He's one of the best shooters in the league. I know in his mind, he expects to be starting. Do you start him? Do you choose to have him come off the bench? The fact that they already had a deal in place to move him before the draft.
That's got to sit pretty sour with him.
That's got to sit pretty sour, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how I would feel. I know it's part of the game or part of the business, and NBA players kind of have to always have that in the back of their minds, but it definitely changes things for you from a mental perspective. Coming to work every day, these guys wanted me gone. What am I doing here?
I was gone.
So yeah, I think it's a very interesting situation to see how it plays out. And like I said, I would still be exploring trade options if I were the Kings for him, but you have to get something back that's worthwhile in return. So I really don't know. A lot of teams are strapped for cash too, and I don't know how that's going to affect things, but we'll see how it plays out.
I would love to have a talent like Buddy Hield coming off the bench, but then who's handling the ball? if you got your 3 best ball handlers starting, Buddy Hield's been much better at ball handling, but who's running the offense?
I would expect, if that's the route that they went, I would expect Luke Walton to stagger the minutes. You would probably have one of those 3 guys on the court
hopefully
most of the time, if not all the time. And, so Buddy Hield would come in rotation, and it's not like they would do a clean hockey lineup swap 5 for 5 sort of a thing. But you're right. You got to have somebody out there who can handle the ball and run the offense.
Yeah, that is true. Should we talk a little bit about another newcomer to the Kings, number 88, Neemias?
I'm not sure how to pronounce his name, actually. Keta. We'll just call him Keta.
Keta, yes. Neemias Keta.
That's right.
I saw he was playing some great defense, blocking shots, contesting things at the basket. I think there was like a solid 10 minutes that I was watching that they were focused on him the whole time. That's how much of an impact he was having on the game. So
definitely.
What do you think a guy like that could do potentially for the Kings coming off the bench this next season?
Well, I'm not sure exactly how many minutes he's going to be able to find in the rotation this season, especially with the addition of a guy like Tristan Thompson. I think that really takes away from any minutes or any serious minutes that Keta's going to get. I expect to see him on a 2-way contract. Don't forget they still have Damian Jones also on this team. So he's somebody that I think is definitely worth hanging on to. I think it's worth trying to get him in games this year, get him some experience. He still needs to develop his game a lot, but he's got the athleticism for a guy his size. He seems to have the timing defensively, and he's very, very active. One thing I really don't like about him right now is he tends to overcommit on the perimeter. Closeouts are good, but when you get beat every time outside, even by guys who aren't necessarily that quick or great ball handlers, you're supposed to be the anchor of the defense, the guy that can be in there to help. If somebody's blowing by you because you've overcommitted too much to the perimeter, that kind of takes your presence and your impact inside away. So I'd like to see him do that a little less. He also goes for pump fakes way too much, which is pretty typical of a high volume shot blocker. But that's the next step. You know, in the NBA, you're not going to – guys are too smart for that. They're going to read the defense. They're going to pump fake. They're going to get you off your game. And especially out at the three-point line, you know, for a guy his size with his length, he doesn't need to be going for every pump fake. That's just an avenue for people to get right by you every time. But you clean up those two things, and this guy's got a lot of potential. He really does.
Yeah, he's a very exciting prospect. And back to the MVP, Louis King. Do you think there might be any minutes for him with this Kings roster?
I definitely do. The Kings are incredibly deep at the interior forward center position and guard. But wings, besides Harrison Barnes, you know, we signed Mo Harkless, which is a good guy to have coming off the bench. Mm-hmm. Outside of that, though, there's some opportunity for a wing to crack this lineup, especially a guy who can shoot and score like Louis King can. So, yeah, I expect him to get some run. We'll see what happens in training camp. But there's a really big opportunity for him this year, I think.
Well, I know it's exciting for us Kings fans to celebrate another championship. I think this is number 3 for us, right? We got 51, 2014, That's right. And now we got 2021. So we're spreading them out a little bit, but it is exciting. But I think we can all agree here the big winner of this championship is Bobby Jackson, right?
Yes, that's right.
Coach Bobby Jackson.
Coach Jackson.
He led this team.
Cheers to Coach Jackson.
Yeah, great influence on this team. He set the tone defensively. We saw Doug Christie helping out. Just all these guys are setting this defensive tone, and I love to see it. Yep. Great mentor for a guy like Davion Mitchell. What do you think we can expect or see from Bobby Jackson this next year? I know there's a bunch of assistant coaches, but what do you think he'll...
Well, he is the coach of the G League Stockton Kings this year.
Yep.
Which I think is a great opportunity for him. You know, I expect him to get a major coaching job on somebody's bench here, whether it be Luke Walton's or someone else in the not too distant future. But it's his time, basically. You know, he's put in a lot of work, not just as a player, but ever since he stopped playing, he's been involved with the Kings organization pretty much. Doing a lot of behind-the-scenes work, and it's all starting to pay off now. And I think this is a big deal to have him as the G League coach for the Kings, because now all these guys, you know, if you consider it your farm system or your minor league prospects, they're going to have this kind of culture and this kind of expectations. When you come here, you're going to play hard, you're going to play defense.
It's a good resume builder.
It's a good resume builder, but it's also a great way for the guys on the G League team who you are bringing into your big league team to have that culture carry over now between G League and the NBA franchise. I think it's very important.
I'm just so happy to see some winning happening, some defense happening. I'm really excited for Doug Christie's addition to this Kings team. I hope Bobby Jackson can have a little bit more impact, but we'll see. We'll see where that goes. Do you want to announce another coach hiring?
Thank you for passing that off to me, because it's another guy I'm not really sure how to pronounce his name. You want to give it a shot?
Mike Longabardi.
Longabardi.
He has been in the league for a Longabardi time, I heard. But unfortunately, Calvin and I don't know too much about him. I think he was with Steve Nash for a little while.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I have very little information on his background. The only thing I know is he's supposed to be a defensive specialist. So it's just another commitment to defense and effort and winning basketball, right? They're putting all the right guys in the right positions. Now they just got to actually put the work in and let it play out on the court.
Yeah, all I can think about is us playing NBA 2K, and it's like end of the season, we're stuck on that coaching screen, and we're like, okay, assistant coach, interviewing all these guys, trying to hire them. I'm just happy to see them bringing in more defensive-oriented guys. I know it's a really tough process, and building a culture takes a while. So
it does. It definitely does. Progress. You know, watching Davion Mitchell play in the summer league, this is a guy who is definitely going to be a major part of this team this season. And when you have a guy like that in your locker room and a guy who plays like that every single night, it's contagious. So I'm really excited to see, for a rookie, what kind of defensive impact he's going to have on the team as a whole. I know he's going to play great defense, but how is it going to look from everybody else's perspective?
And I think we saw last year how much of an impact just a rookie can have on the team, right? Like, so many guys were just energized to play with Tyrese Haliburton. And so having another guy coming in this year, it's more excitement. It's more energy coming into this team. I am amazed at what Monte McNair has been able to do with this team without sacrificing the future, without making any huge trades. He's just been kind of staying in his own lane, taking the guy that falls to him, making good moves on the side, not financially strapping your franchise, keeping all your draft picks. And it just seems like every year another guy's falling, and they're jumping right in there to see what happens. I love what I've seen from Davion. I love what I've seen from Tyrese Haliburton. It just makes me think about the future. And like I said, us playing 2K, could this mean that DeAaron Fox is potentially out in the future? I love DeAaron Fox a lot. I like Haliburton a lot. What I've seen from Davion Mitchell, I like so far. But when you're developing two young guards and they're playing great, and you need to make another trade to push this team over the hump, DeAaron Fox is obviously their best trade asset. And if you feel like he's replaceable with one of these young guys, you're cutting salary and you're adding talent at another position. I could see what they're potentially, leaving the possibility open to. But it does make me a little worried.
Yeah, to me, I'm more worried about having to pay two guys max contracts. This is not an LA or New York franchise. It's a smaller market team. In my opinion, having two guys on max contracts for a team like Sacramento is not quite doable. It's kind of the whole thing that Oklahoma City went through when they had Durant and Westbrook and Harden. They knew they couldn't pay all of them, so they tried to get ahead of it and trade Harden before he became the James Harden that we all know today. Man, it would be so disappointing to have De'Aaron Fox leave this team, whether it's him choosing to go play somewhere else or him getting traded. I don't really want to think about that right now, so let's just pump the brakes a little bit and enjoy these three guards while we can, and while two of them are still really cheap.
Yeah, we got a couple years for that, so that is exciting.
But you're right. It's a very difficult scenario and a difficult few decisions that the Kings are more than likely going to have to make, 3-4 years from now.
Another subject I wanted to touch on today, which I know you got into a little bit of a dust up with somebody on Instagram this week talking about Marvin Bagley and what might be expected of him next season. But you made a really good point. You said Marvin's in a contract year.
He is.
It's up to him, so we can expect a good performance from him if he wants to get paid. And I guess it's that simple, right?
It is that simple. There's also the question of, is he going to be going out there just trying to get his, right? Because he's looking to get paid. Or are you going to accept your role within the offense and within the team? And which he should have a big role. He should be playing, I think, more minutes probably than he did last year, as long as he can stay healthy, which is another issue that he's had. But if he's on the court, he's going to have plenty of opportunity. And like I said, if he wants to get paid next year, he's got to perform. So
what can we expect from him?
Well, history tells me that you can expect about 15 points and 8 rebounds a game from him, which is not bad.
It's not bad.
That's not bad.
Yeah.
And his per 36-minute average, I think we talked about it a while ago, it's like 20 and 10 or something like that. He's not going to play 36 minutes a game, I would expect, but I think somewhere in the range of 15 to 17 points a game and 7-8 rebounds a game is probably what you should expect from him.
For me, I feel like he's got another year under his belt. So maybe Walton's going to give him a little bit more respect, a little bit more, not such a tight leash. You make a mistake, he doesn't pull you right away.
Mm-hmm.
But it comes down to me for how Davion Mitchell plays. Because I feel like if Mitchell is playing really well, then Bagley's probably the odd man out of the starting lineup, right?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways that the Kings can play this lineup. And I also think if Davion Mitchell is playing well or playing, major minutes, that could actually help Marvin. I mean, even today, Davion only had 9 points. He attempted 12 shots, which is reasonable, I guess, but didn't shoot too well, but he ended up with 7 assists. So he's a smart player, and when his shot is not falling, he's going to try to get other guys involved. I think he knows how to play the game. He knows what to look for out there. And he is exceptional at getting to the basket, right? So we saw Marvin Bagley start to improve that outside shot a little bit, especially that corner three, which is where the stretch four usually ends up in most of these NBA offenses now. So if he can hit that with more consistency next year, he's going to have a lot of open shots playing with guys like Mitchell and Fox and Haliburton, who can all get to the rim pretty easily and are all going to be looking for that guy in the corner as well.
Yeah. That's very true. Let us know down below in the comments who you feel is going to be starting this year for your Sacramento Kings and what kind of role we can expect out of Davion and out of Marvin Bagley. Also, make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to this channel if you want to see more awesome Kings content. Calvin and I, we put out a couple podcasts a week. We do a show on Fridays all about the Kings during the season and a lot of other fun things, all Kings related. So if you're a diehard Sacramento Kings, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. Anything else you want to talk about today, Cal?
Robert Woodard, man. When the Kings drafted him, I didn't expect him to be a star right away on this team, but I thought, this is a guy who could really get himself into the rotation pretty easily here with his length, his defensive ability.
He's got the body too.
He has the NBA body, but for some reason he just hasn't put it together yet. He should have been one of these guys who was dominating in summer league because he's physically more gifted or more farther along than a lot of these younger guys. He's had a year of NBA experience under his belt, and he really just didn't show up in any of these games. So hopefully he can bounce back and have a good year in the G League, and that maybe even come up and play a couple games for the Kings this year. But I was really surprised that he didn't take a big step forward.
Yeah, I expect him to probably be in the G League again this season, playing with Bobby Jackson. So that'll give him more time, and maybe he can eventually become this defensive stopper guy that we all would want from him. I know you mentioned Jamias in the beginning. Do you want to touch on him at all? His performance this year and what to maybe expect from him?
Quite the opposite of Robert Woodard. He really did take a huge step forward in between this year and last year. I think he really worked on his body a lot as well. You can tell he's a lot stronger.
He's young too.
He's very young. And this is a guy who was the highest rated recruit that Texas Tech basketball's ever had. So tons of potential with this kid. What I loved most about his game was not just the defense, because he really brought it on defense as well every day, but his ability to get to the basket and finish through contact. That's where you could really tell he's a lot stronger, has worked on his body. His outside shot is good, but he needs a little more consistency, I think, before he starts to crack minutes in the regular rotation, especially with all these guards that the Kings already have.
Yep.
So that's going to hurt him a little bit. But I would hang on to him right now. Like you said, he's very young, got a lot of potential,
very cheap,
very athletic, and a very good defensive player. So I think there's definitely potential for him going forward.
I totally agree. I think he's a sponge, and he's just going to absorb everything around him, and hopefully they can get some more different basketball experiences for him to interact with and slowly gain confidence in his game, because I feel like that's all he really needs to perform at the NBA level. Is he just needs to have the confidence to know that he can compete against these guys.
Yeah, I would agree. Totally.
Awesome. Well, we want to thank you all for joining us on another episode of the Royal Rebounds podcast with Calvin and Barry. Hope you guys had as much fun as we did. We won another championship, guys. Happy about that. Here's to the next one. And in the meantime, go Kings.
Go Kings.